Hi, I'm Rebecca from Retail Week Live, and I'm very delighted to be joined here by Isabela Chick, MD of Retail and Beauty from Founders Factory.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming. So what is exciting you at the moment in terms of what you're seeing at Founders Factory with, the really exciting startups and retailers that you're working with?
So I look after the retail and beauty portfolios, and actually the most exciting thing is just the sheer volume of innovation challenges that are out there that need to be cracked. So we have a really diverse portfolio, everything from kind of technologies that can support retailers or beauty brands in their marketing, all the way through to creating foods using robots and artificial intelligence. So I think just the sheer range of challenges, the sheer amount of ways that whole industry can be revitalized, made more efficient, the way that new brands can be launched. There's just so many challenges that it's fascinating to be able to see so many of them. We invest in 10 businesses a year across both sectors, and we build 3 businesses a year from scratch across retail and beauty. So lots and lots of challenges to get excited about.
Absolutely. And in terms of kind of in retail especially, there's a bit of a debate between kind of building and buying. What's better? According to your kind of what you've seen and in your experiences, is there a kind of secret sauce? What should retailers be doing?
So I think just doing something is the sort of first part. I think there was a lot of, let's get inspired and see what other people are doing, and how would Google approach this? What would Amazon do? And actually, I think there's just so much benefit in just starting by working with a startup. Is probably the easiest thing to do. If there is a particular pain point that you have, and there's a startup that solves it, just do a pilot, see what happens. What can you learn from it? Another thing that we've seen is that there's a lot of innovators and brilliant ideas within corporates. The challenge is maybe the environment might not be quite right to build businesses there. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we found as Founders Factory is that a lot of our corporates send us secondees. Mm-hmm. So they have people with brilliant ideas. They're not in the right environment in their day jobs to bring those to fruition. And so they come to us and we help them, guide them through, what the value proposition should be, how to test it. And we've had a couple of examples of 2 businesses that were businesses that were brought to us from our corporate partners and are now on their way to raise lots and lots of money. So that's great because the people within the corporates that we work with have got like absolute sector expertise, and just not necessarily, and lots of entrepreneurial spirit, just maybe not the right environment. So that's another thing, is thinking about how can retailers help their employees develop their ideas and start their own startups.
And in terms of kind of managing partnerships between corporates and startups, what kind of things should makes a successful partnership in your opinion? So
I think the really important thing is knowing what good looks like. So making sure that the kind of end game point is clear for both, and that the incentives are aligned. And I think generally if those 2 things work, then it's quite easy to draft a really good kind of pilot proposal, work through it. And I think that the challenge there is to make sure that the corporate can react quickly. You always hear these stories of kind of, startups that have got the perfect solution to corporate, but the corporate's got really long procurement processes or something. And I think a lot of the point where things go wrong is nothing to do with whether it was the right solution or the right challenge. It's that kind of corporate glue. So we're very lucky working with M&S that we've got a kind of, brilliant person that works with us, Daniel Hemsworth, and he is able to make sure that we keep the momentum going through the organisation, and that just means that we can get pilots delivered quickly, so everyone, you capture the momentum rather than it dragging out, and we know what good looks like. We set really clear KPIs at the start of it, track those, and do a really good wrap-up session afterwards to see if it was, lessons learned, what went right, what went wrong. Inevitably, things do go wrong, and figure out what are the next best steps forward. So I think having a clear plan of action and KPIs is really helpful.
Fab. And as an organisation, obviously you work specifically in retail and beauty, but as an organisation you work in a lot of different sectors. Is there another sector aside from retail that you think is super innovative and that retailers should be, looking to partner with, for example?
So I think retailers generally should be partnering with every sector, because actually the retail on its own is crazy, because it goes everything from kind of logistics and kind of supply chain management all the way through to kind of direct to consumer brands and how might you do that. We've just brought on a new sector at Founders Factory, which is the home sector, with Reckitt Benckiser as the corporate partner. And that has lots of opportunities there in terms of how people are thinking about their home and how to improve their environment. But I think what's more interesting is maybe the themes that need a cross-sector approach to challenge. So we see quite a lot of investment themes that are common to all of our partners, so around sustainability. That's really cool, whether it's kind of through reducing plastics and packaging, through to reducing use of chemicals. That's something that we are internally approaching a kind of cross-sector approach on, and having lots of lessons learned across the sort of sector heads within Founders Factory, but also just bringing in our corporate partners and making sure that they're all kind of aligned. And the other thing in our model is that even though Marks and Spencer will invest in 5 retail startups, they actually pilot startups from across every sector, and that would be the same in beauty. I think L'Oréal has piloted pretty much all of the media sector startups that we've invested in as well. So actually, that's kind of the joy of it, is just being able to be part of this broader network.
In terms of industries, are there any that you think are just way more innovative than retail?
Look, I think every industry has its own innovations. I think there's just a question of kind of where along the kind of adoption curve of technology they are. Retail has lots of kind of peculiarities and for some reason hasn't maybe integrated as much with some other sectors we might have hoped. But, we've got a fantastic example of a startup that we built internally at Founders Factory called Karakuri. It's got a fantastic CEO on board now. And they are a robotic startup that uses a blend of robotic technology and artificial intelligence to solve the challenge of food production, making it much more efficient, much more sustainable. There's basically no waste where they're working. And so that's the sort of thing that, we're really hoping to pilot with the likes of M&S. Mercado is a big investor in them. And so I think there's lots of opportunities for new technologies to being brought into the retail sector, whether they're necessarily retail technologies or not, I don't know. I think that the thing is that the ecosystem is getting quite blurry at the edges, and payment systems that we might consider kind of from a Founders Factory perspective in our kind of fintech portfolio are super applicable to retail partners and so on. So we're actually just trying to make the most of those cross-sector opportunities where we can.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's the beauty of ecosystems, isn't it? Incorporating all of the amazing innovation that can be kind of cross-pollinated, I guess, between the industries.
Exactly. I think that's creating the ecosystem is what's really important.
Absolutely. Fab.